My name's Ryland Hart. I grew up in Hermosa Beach, California, and I now luckily live out here in Honolulu, Hawaii. I got into paddling kind of by chance. I was about 5 years old. My parents used to escort all the races out in California, and they were just decided they didn't want to be on the boat anymore and they wanted to start paddling. And I just got dragged along on all the adventures. Luckily, growing up, for me, Danny Ching, his cousin, is about my age, and he needed a friend to go on all Danny's adventures, so I got dragged along pretty young. So that was sort of what set the hook for me, and I've been around ever since. Growing up in Southern California, it's kind of like I don't even know how to describe it, like a bottleneck for knowledge for paddling, because everybody either has to go through there to get out here, or coming from Tahiti or coming here back through California. So growing up, we always would have random people from all over coming to hang out with us, either on layovers or spending the week out in California. So I was super fortunate to get to learn from just crazy amounts of people that most people would never even get to meet. But that being said, you know, growing up under Danny Ching and his knowledge and his uncle Josh Crayton, both have definitely sort of paved the path for me and, you know, how I want to act and train and do all that stuff. A lot of people know Danny and where he comes from and how he is, you know, Mr. You know, give back, but all that comes from his uncle Josh, who really beat it into us pretty young, you know, the pay it forward mentality. And you know, all this stuff we get to go do is super fun, but it's way more fun if you bring all your friends along with you. So yeah, I'd say Danny and Josh growing up were probably my two, you know, biggest inspirations outside my family. Of course, I have won the lottery with family. I think they're the coolest people on the planet. But out here, you know, the knowledge base is just so amazing that it's too hard to pick. You know, being with Team Puakea, we're lucky enough to have Johnny's guidance on us all the time. And, you know, if not a day goes by where I probably don't call him, just ask him, am I still doing it right? You know, and then paddling for the Outrigger Canoe Club. You know, I have, you know, the 100 years of lineage coming from there that I can, you know, pick up a phone or just be down here and call somebody and ask, hey, what do you think? So I'm just too lucky to even pick who I'm inspired by these days. There's a lot of challenges in the sport. I mean, every time you want to go, you know, half a mile an hour faster, there's a challenge. But I'd say for me, the biggest challenges were just still finding ways to enjoy it. The process of trying to go as fast as possible is, you know, a rocky road, but at the end of the day, nobody's getting paid doing this, and just remembering how fun it is, how much I love it, and when times get tough and frustrating, I really have to go and just remember that, you know. I mean, I, along as well as my teammates and everybody else out here, have all these crazy high goals, but this is the coolest thing on the planet, in my opinion. So I just got to remember that is, you know, kind of big. One of my, you know, blessings, but also challenges as well, is just staying in that mindset of like, I love it. I've transitioned into coaching at a pretty young age. I started coaching some of my, you know, junior teams growing up, and that transition when I moved out here to Kai and now at Outrigger Canoe Club. Just obviously, you know, getting ready for the solo and all this is a very individual aspect. Me personally, I'm actually more of a team guy, and getting to watch, you know, my teams develop into, you know, not necessarily just fast competitive teams, but actually like teams with proper training etiquette, you know, respect, good humans, stuff like that has been both inspirational but also very memorable for me. And it helps me when I get out there and, you know, we're 3 hours into the channel, just knowing that, you know, I've got teammates watching after me and, you know, who are, you know, boats floating away. But having teammates that, you know, are there with me, that's pretty memorable. On the one-man side, I mean, racing's racing. We slug it out with the same, you know, 5 to 10 guys every week. But I'm just, you know, excited to see where it goes and hopefully make some more memories. And I grew up in and around the sport. I was raised by it. I was raised by the people. I would always go as a kid, go try and do other organized sports, and it just wasn't the same. I always say this, but, you know, it's probably the only sport in the world where, you know, we go do it for an hour and we talk about it for 3. You know, that's the community to me, and it also just, it bleeds into the rest of your life. And, you know, when you need help moving the couch, you know who to call. You need, you know, I don't know, you get into trouble, you know who to call. Like your paddling family is always there, you know, brothers, sisters, aunties, uncles, all of it. So to me, it's just the support system and all those like-minded people who, you know, maybe we come from all over. I mean, like, Miles and I grew up together. Jack grew up in Hong Kong, but here we are, in Hawaii, and we get to be best friends. So I would probably tell my younger self to enjoy it. I've been pretty serious for a long time now, and I'm pretty young. And so just to slow down and remember that you don't have to win every race, you don't have to win tomorrow, and as long as you're training the right way and you're treating people well, going along the path in the right way, you'll get to wherever you want to go, whether that's winning or being on the right team or all that. There's no shortcuts, there's no secrets, and just enjoying the process is probably the biggest thing. I've definitely for a long time been so hyper-focused on trying to accomplish big crazy goals that I've forgotten that along the way at times, but I'd say this year I really brought it back to that essence, that like Danny and Josh instilled in me. We pay it forward, we bring everybody along, and it makes it so much more rewarding if you get there, and if not, you still have your cool friends and family there. It's like, that's really the prize at the end of the day anyways. So that's probably what I'd tell them. I grew up in Team Puakea. Danny was one of the original riders for Johnny, and so I just kind of got folded in. So I mean, Johnny's been watching over me since I was 5. Not directly, but he's been around, and it's kind of just a family. Between our team out here in Hawaii, we've got a pretty close family. Watched over by Jimmy and Johnny, but in California, I grew up with Kelly and Jimmy Spoto, and that whole Puakea family over there. That I just don't know any better. They're the best. So that family aspect is something pretty cool, and I know Johnny's pretty big on trying to keep that as much as possible, because at the end of the day, like I said, it's a community thing. It's not F1. We're not making millions of dollars off this, so if you don't love it, what's the point?